Why is practicing such a taboo subject in traditional Irish music? Not practicing tunes, practicing. I really don't like practicing. But in this video, I'm going to bust the myth of the 10,000 hours in order to become a master at anything. Because you could literally play the banjo with really bad technique for 10,000 hours and never get any better. Plenty of musicians out there have been playing for decades. I always ask myself, how come they've never improved? They seem stuck at a plateau. I have plateaued many times over my career as a banjo player. The way that I got off the plateau was not by sitting in the practice room and running drills for hours on end. It was by short, focused, very intentional bursts of practice. I'm going to explain to you now why that works. It's going to involve a little bit of neuroscience, really sciencey. I like to use big words so that I appear more photosynthesis. So what does your practice look like? Do you sit in, play your favorite tune over and over again? Your brain detaches, it goes somewhere else. You might feel like you're doing scales and you're playing and you're picking away, but your brain is probably going, oh, I need to mow the lawns, I didn't do the shopping, I wonder what's for dinner, I'm hungry, oh, I should have had more coffee, oh, I had too much coffee. That's me. It's not intentional and it's not focused. And while the physicality of playing does have a benefit, because at the end of the day, there is some muscle use involved in playing instruments, playing the banjo, and that does develop by playing lots. Short, intentional, focused bursts of practice are going to yield much better results. Jesus, that was a hard sentence. So the neurosciencey bit of this is that there's no such thing as muscle memory. That was the buzzword for a long time. I was like, oh, you do something for 10,000 hours, you're going to build up your muscle memory and you'll be able to do it unconsciously. Muscles don't have memory, but what does have memory are the neural pathways in your brain. And so that's the science bit. When we do something repetitious, focused, and intentional, our brain rewires to make that movement a priority. I've been playing banjo for 40 years, so my brain has been wired over many years to do certain movements on the banjo. Hence the notion of the 10,000 hours. But could I become really good in a much shorter period of time? Absolutely. And there's plenty of musicians out there playing at extremely high levels that didn't start when they were 8 years old. They might have only started when they were in their 20s. How did they do it? We're going to discuss that now. So here's what I recommend. Alternating practice. Rather than taking one drill or one exercise and doing it like 50 times through over and over, we want to take 4 or 5 techniques and practice them for about 2 to 3 minutes each, one after another, and then cycle back through them and do that cycle over and over. Apparently, this is the way that your brain remembers important information. For example, if you were studying for an exam, I don't know what, driver's test or something like that, you would learn off a bunch of stuff and then you kind of close your eyes and you go back through all of the questions to see can you remember the answer. That imprints it. You wouldn't read the entire manual from start to finish and then expect yourself to have memorized it all unless you got a really special type of brain. So we break things into small chunks. Going to be an important word in a while. Not chunky. And then by putting all the chunks together, that's how we build up a great practice routine. Playing banjo is about having a series of fundamental techniques that underpin everything else. If the fundamentals aren't in place, it's like trying to build a house in a swamp. You need to have a good foundation. I have an entire course on irishbanjolessons.com which goes through the most essential fundamentals, such as how to hold the pick, how to sit, how to place the banjo. And it's really just about making everything as ergonomic and as efficient as possible. When that's in place, practice becomes important. So what do I recommend? Make a plan. This is very important. Sit down, take out a journal, and write down what you're going to practice. I'm going to tell you what in a minute. But if you do it intentionally by writing it before you practice, you're less likely to wander back to your favorite tune and then just start playing that. It also keeps track so that at the end of the week you get the little dopamine hit to say, well, look at me, I did 7 days of practice and I covered all of these essential aspects of banjo playing. So here's a suggestion for a plan. Number one, start with some warm-up routines. Right, we're not inventing the wheel, just run some scales. This is literally to get into the action of playing the banjo. You might want to do some stretches. Again, nothing new here. Just stretch out the muscles, stretch out the ligaments, shake it out, and get ready. Get your mind and your body ready to practice. We are rewiring the brain through short focus bursts of practice. So you need to get ready for it. So we've warmed up by doing a couple of scales. What's next? The building block of all banjo playing is the right hand. It's pick directions. I highly recommend that just using an open string, you do a series of downstrokes. You can make it into a scale and then do a series of upstrokes. One of those strokes is going to be stronger than the other. For me, the downstroke is always going to be stronger than the up. What's the benefit of separating them? Well, it's giving the intention that the downstroke is an action all on its own. Different muscles govern the downstroke, and a whole different set of muscles govern the upstroke. So when we do the upstroke on its own, we're giving priority to that action. And again, just letting our brain know that we want this one to be as powerful and as refined as the down. So spend 3 minutes doing downstrokes and upstrokes on their own. That's the basis of alternate picking. So now we're just going to do some alternate picking. Do it on an open string. Mindfully be aware of the two different strokes that are happening together. We've just practiced them on their own, put them together. It changes the way that you approach alternate picking. And run a scale. Don't get mad complicated, don't get mad fast. But if you do this for like 3 minutes, but it's really important that you focus your mind on what's actually happening in your hand. Bring your attention to the action of the pick against the string so that this becomes a very intentional practice. Make every note count. The next thing I would add into a daily practice plan is some string changing or string hopping. Again, you don't even need to worry about your left hand. Just jump around, pick a very simple pattern, do it in alternate picking. See, it's hard. Reverse the pick and direction. So do the same exercise, but start with an upstroke. So now your down beat is an upstroke. And if your brain is programmed like mine for down up down picking, this one's a little bit wonky. Now, the fact that I'm missing those means that there is a wiring aspect in my brain that's not used to doing upstrokes on a down beat. So that is something that I could practice and spend time at. And it's all about the maximum amount of refinement of what my right hand is doing. You can keep it even simpler than that and just alternate between two strings. And reverse. Sky's the limit. But pick 1 or 2 of those, spend 3 or 4 minutes on that. Now it's very important that we also practice our left hand. And again, when I say practice, I mean that focused, intentional work that we're going to do for a couple of minutes at a time. Individuation of your left hand fingers is very, very important. I've been playing for 40 years. These two still don't really like to work independently of each other. And literally 4 decades of not really using my pinky, now I'm trying to rectify that problem. Here's an exercise that I do all of the time. The last section, if you're like me and these two don't work very well independently of each other, this one's going to make a big difference. that, these two fingers are going to know all about it. Set your metronome, mark your speed, write it in your journal, try it at a couple of different tempos. Find your breaking point in all of these exercises and make a note of it, because we're going to talk a little bit about living on the edge in a minute. Chunking, not chunky. This video is largely inspired by a guitar teacher that I came across online called Daniel Serif. Did a video about practice techniques for guitar, and I'm taking a lot of those ideas and from multiple other videos and trying to apply it to banjo. But one of the things that I've come across on numerous videos recently is the concept of chunking. It's not rocket science, it's neuroscience. Basically, your brain can learn small things at a time, and if you wanted to learn a piece of music, it's really difficult to learn the entire piece of music in one go. Your mind can't take it all in. So you learn it in portions, in chunks. And so the concept of chunking, which I believe comes from a book called Peak by Anders Ericsson, it's about breaking things down into small little chunks and then adding one chunk to another. And that's essentially how you either learn a tune or you find your way through difficult picking sections or fingering sections of a tune. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. This is a passage of a kind of a very generic G major reel. Okay? My weakest point in my playing is my pinky and stretching up to the high B. And I mean, there's video upon video about how do I play the high B? Well, if I was to play this in normal fingering, the transition across that ring finger and reaching up for the pinky onto that high B, that is difficult for me. The way that chunking would work in this instance is rather than playing the entire second part, I'm going to break down the difficult section into tiny chunks. If I spent 2 minutes just doing those 3 notes and then add that back into the other parts of that part, I will see massive benefit from having done that really intentionally and really slowly. That's how we iron out the wrinkles in our playing. This is how I learned to cross pick. Because I couldn't do that for years at any kind of speed. And I literally sat in this room learning how to do 2 upstrokes, followed by a down. And I chunked it. Over and over and over. And I spent a week doing just that motion, literally those 4 notes. And then I tried to play it fast and boom, my brain had rewired and I was suddenly able to cross-pick. Being able to cross-pick really fast, we're going to talk about that in a minute, because that's an additional part of practice. Examples of things that you could chunk, we mentioned earlier, just doing the upstrokes. So play maybe a tune or simple exercises, but just do them on upstrokes. And then only do them on downstrokes. And then add them together. You can chunk a triplet. Get really slow and mindful with it. And at speed, that can make your triplet easier. But you won't know that until you slow the triplet right down and make a very focused and intentional practice out of playing one triplet. Or you can just go and play your favorite tune where you miss 3 triplets in a row every single time. Keep playing it, keep missing the triplets, and keep being annoyed with yourself. That's totally an option. There are so many areas in banjo, little things that pop up in tunes. It might be a string hop, it might be trying to keep a finger on a string but also leave another note clear so that it rings. Break all of those down into tiny little portions, into chunks, and practice them on their own. And you will make progress much, much faster than hammering away at it for an hour at a time. Breathe. very important to breathe. Before you start to practice, take several deep breaths. Settle and ground your body. Make sure that your shoulders aren't in your earlobes. Makes a huge difference. Again, it also tells your brain that now we're going to do some focused, very directional practice and we need full attention. Now, earlier I talked about doing things that you're not able to do. Number one on the list is often speed. How can I play faster, Enda? Most common question. The simple answer is twofold. One, you gotta have your technique down. That's number one. And then number two, you have to play faster than you're able to play. This is a bit like going to the gym and you want bigger bicep muscles. You have to lift a weight that's heavier than what you're really comfortable at lifting. Do several reps with it. It breaks down the muscle and then the muscle repairs and grows. And this is pretty much similar musculature, but also brain rewiring. You have to play faster than you're able to play. Be okay at sucking at it. Don't make it into a soul-destroying experience. And your body will eventually adapt to accommodate the new speed. Now, when I say adapt, this is really important. The technique that you will use to play at 60 beats per minute is a slightly different technique than you'll use at 100, and probably a vastly different technique than you will if you wanted to play at 150. Nobody wants to play at 150. It's ridiculously fast. But the point is, you will have to adapt your technique to get really, really fast. This is where practice comes into play. If you have done really intentional focus practice at 60, at 70, at 80, at 90, and then you want to play faster, put on your headphones, listen to a YouTube video where they're playing really fast, play along with them, and be conscious of how it feels. Look at different ways of adapting your technique. You might have to squeeze a little bit harder. Maybe you need to change the angle of the pick to get more resistance against the string. They're tiny adaptations, but you'll only figure those things out if you're doing it intentionally and focusing on what's happening. If you just kind of go into a session that's too fast for you and playing along, you're probably going to end up playing like a half a beat behind everybody and be very frustrated that you're not getting any faster. Whereas if you sit down to practice playing faster and doing it intentionally, your body is going to adapt. It will adapt to that centered, deep breath, grounded place of practice an awful lot more than it will to frustrated, kind of semi-pissed off playing in a session where it's all too fast and you're like, oh, fast music is stupid. Be intentional. Practice really, really works. A really important point is that you have to rest. Again, the gym metaphor or allegory or whatever comparison, the muscles grow the day after you've been to the gym. They grow while you're asleep at nighttime. If you went and lifted bicep curls 7 days in a row, you're preventing the growth because you're constantly put your muscles under stress. The work that you do in the practice room kicks in when you stop practicing. You go and you rest and you let your brain rewire, you let the muscles in your hand grow. So rest is also very important. Try not to practice like an absolute demon, but do it more than once a month. Practice, consistency is key. So we got to do the work. Last thought, visualization. When you're not physically playing the banjo, you can still spend time practicing in your mind. You can hum a tune, run your fingers over the fretboard. Often this is very helpful because now there's no tension, there's no getting stressed out because you missed a note. You're just playing away. Imagine your right hand is moving really fluid, really lightly across the strings. Visualization can be a very, very useful tool. Thanks for watching. If you found this useful, please let me know in the comments.